Zeitz, what is the latest, particularly with Zach Merrett?
Well, there is quite the buzz here at Trade HQ, of course. The last 20 minutes before the deadline, always quite the experience here at Marvel Stadium. So, of course, there is still plenty to play out. The big two at the moment, Charlie Curnow and Zach Merrett, of course. Now, I think there is some confidence that the Charlie Curnow deal can get done between Sydney and Carlton. All their key power brokers are in a room as we speak trying to thrash out that deal. The Zach Merrett one, now, that's the one that's been the real watch this space for the entirety of the trade period, really. So, a short time ago, Hawthorn made what it says is its final offer to the Bombers for Zach Merrett services. That deal is pick 10, pick 22, a 2026 first-round pick, and Henry Huswaite in exchange for Merrett and a 2026 third-round pick. So that is the final offer from Hawthorn. We'll know in the space of 20 minutes whether or not the Bombers have accepted that, but they have played this very firm all the way through. They're the two big deals still to be done. Zach Merrett, this one looks set to go right down to the 7:30 p.m. deadline, I reckon, Sarah.
And if that is the best that Hawthorn is offering up, I'd be shocked if the Bombers accept that, given the strong line that Andrew Welsh has given.
Well, I'm surprised you're wearing everything but the sash tonight, given the colours you've come with. But look, I don't know, I'm torn on this one. I think that with a club like where they are right now, the picks would be handy. There's no doubt about that. But they've been so strong in saying that they won't trade their captain that I tend to side a little bit with Andrew Welsh and think, OK, how strong is your first statement to the members? Is it bulletproof? Will you waver?
I think that this is a deal that is now absolutely something most clubs would take. The problem is the last 25 years of history at Essendon. The problem is that Zach Merrett is their only A-grader and he's won 6 Crichton medals. And so this is a club that continues to say, we are making every decision at this football club under Brad Scott and now Andrew Welsh for the medium and long-term future. This is a deal that would give him 6 picks in the top 20, albeit of a top 30 of a poor draft, multiple first-round picks next year. And yet, it's Zach Merrett. And yet, we all understand how much pressure Brad Scott would be under next year if they made this decision. So the only weakness of this Hawthorn offer is that it only has Henry Huswaite. It doesn't have a potential A-grader, a player with upside. And maybe in the end, that's the reason that Essendon might knock it back. But I think they're considering it right now.
All right, let's have a listen to Tom Petroro, who is Zach Merrett's manager.
Zach really wants to be a Hawthorn footballer. He's all in on this. It's been a difficult 5 or 6 week period and his instruction to me is to try and get him to Hawthorn this afternoon. He's motivated to get to Hawthorn. He's in a position where he feels like he's given his all to the Essendon Footy Club over the last 12 years. He's never wavered. He's bought it all out, but he needs a fresh start and he wants to chase success at Hawthorn. Hawthorn are looking at different alternates, things that they can throw up. I guess the reality for me is I've been lucky enough to be in this game for 23 years. I've never seen a deal like this for a 30-year-old. 2 first rounds, a second-round pick. It's massive collateral. And for a club that is in a phase where they're focusing on youth, I would have thought 3 top picks is probably better than a 30-year-old to take the club forward. But that's what we'll work through this afternoon.
Very strong words there from Tom Petroro. Zach Merrett's not a 30-year-old with two years of footy left ahead of him, though. He's got a lot of good football.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think when we've spoken about Zach Merrett, the way that he plays, the style of footy and what we're seeing with these professional athletes going into the careers, he's got 5, 6, 7 years left of football in him. So I think that Essendon, if they do stand firm, are thinking, well, he can ride out this period with the club through the rebuild and still come out the other side. As you said, he's not a banged-up 30-year-old that's only got 3 years left.
And you look at how many games they potentially win next year. If Zach Merrett, their only A-grader, as Ralphie said, doesn't play for the Bombers next year, how many games are they looking at winning? And then it's a ripple effect. Who else wants to leave the club in 12 months' time if they're just going further and further back?
Well, yeah. It's about winning flags, though, Joey.
It is,
It's about winning flags. So I think you have to put the list and the club first. So what best suits them going forward? If it is Merrett, and I think most people, or the fan base, I think, are 50-50. Some want Merrett to stay, some want him to go, some don't want him as captain anymore, they don't want him in the leadership group. There's all sorts of different views on this one player. I'm looking at it from a Hawthorn point of view. Sam Mitchell has to get this deal done. I mean, they've ran around, they've gone after Oscar Allen, caused all sorts of turmoil for that young man over in Western Australia. The same thing Zach Merrett's going through right now. For me, it's on Hawthorn to satisfy Essendon. Get the deal done. You put this guy through a fair bit of pain over the last couple of weeks, and who knows how this finishes? Who really knows? But I think it's on Hawthorn to satisfy Essendon to the point where they made a commitment to Zach Merrett, get it done.
Hawthorn put up Henry Husthwaite. So Husthwaite has played maybe 2 games in the last 10 weeks of the season. Both those games they subbed him off at half-time. That is a player that they do not rate. That is a player that they talk publicly about being a fantastic potential player. There was no McKenzie in there. There was no Ward in there. There was no Mitch Lewis, who's an unrestricted free agent next year. And let's face it, might have kicked 40 goals for Essendon. And so it's a fair deal, but it's an offer that absolutely Essendon can refuse. And so I think your point there, Kingy, they never said you must take this deal because Essendon knows that without Zach Merrett, they probably finish bottom 4 and they probably have an exodus of players that didn't happen this year but would next.
Are you worried about the PR side of it, Joey, at all?
Yeah, I am. I look at it and say, well, what do Essendon stand for? I mean, Andrew Welsh has come in, and I think he's been terrific so far when we've heard him speak as president, but he guaranteed that Zach Merrett would be their first day of pre-season. Now, what happens to the football club and what they stand for if in the end they trade him away and say, oh, well, the deal was too good, then I don't know, does it lose a little bit of credibility? I'm torn like you, Kingy. I can see it from both perspectives. You can really fast-track the rebuild, but also, as you said, Sarah, if you're going to stay down the wallows for another 4 or 5 years, what is the ripple effect of that for some other young players that are talented at the football club if it's going to continue to be a team that doesn't play finals?
I think, Ralphie, this is the gap between winning a flag and not winning a flag for Hawthorn. This marquee midfielder thrown into the mix. We know Will Day is coming back next year. They're already amongst the top bracket of teams in the competition. To get him or to not get him, it has a massive influence on what the outcome for Hawthorn is in 2026, 27, 28. You're saying he could play for another 7 years. Well, this guy could be at Hawthorn for another 7 years, winning them flags.
Absolutely. Massive. And you remember, they've let Warple go. So they're already just, for a team that probably was a midfielder short, now we know Will Day was injured. All of a sudden, there's a little bit of depth there. CJ's gone as well, so depth, and Sarong. So depth just becomes a little bit more of an issue. The one quality midfielder could take them to the next level to play in a grand final.
And if they miss this one, they never had a great crack at Christian Petracca, who we think will have a fantastic year next year. So there won't be recriminations. They're still in the premiership mix, but it will be a huge missed opportunity.
Really quickly, do you think McKenzie could be part of this deal?
No, not at 7:15.
Tom Petro, we got vision of him in the rooms. He does not look overly thrilled at the moment with where things stand with Zach Merrett with less than 10 minutes to play in this trade period. Of course, Charlie Curnow, the Blues and the Swans looking a bit more convivial, so that one looks like it is heading down the right track. But at this stage, I mean, you'd have to say that Zach Merrett's playing for Essendon next year, the way that this is playing out. We told you what that offer was a bit earlier on, their final offer from the Hawks. It doesn't look like that's getting it done as things stand at the moment, judging by Tom Petroro's demeanour. So we'll try and speak to him as soon as he's out of the rooms and see what he has to say, or if it leaves in a half after not being able to get the deal done. But as we said, there's still 7 minutes left. Anything can happen from this point. And, of course, still a few other deals as well yet to sift through. But Curnow and Merrett, the two big ones, and there is less than 10 minutes to go before we finally know where they'll be playing in 2026.
That is incredible vision, isn't it, Joey? Seeing there Tommy Petroro, who, of course, is Zach Merrett's manager, and he's been trying to get the deal done, trying to bring the clubs together. And based on what we can see there, that doesn't look like a club that's about to land their man.
No, I'm not a body language expert, but it's fair to say I don't think this deal is getting done by the looks of Tom Petroro there with the Hawthorn list team. So it looks like Zach Merrett will most likely stay at Essendon. You were strong on it, King, just before the break, that you think it was on Hawthorn to get this deal done.
Yeah, well, when you promise a club captain to put himself through this, to this point, to this extreme, you've got to come up with a way to get the deal done. You've got to satisfy Essendon. I don't blame Essendon for playing hardball here. They've come out and they've made their statements and they're stuck by them. So full credit to them. But I just think when you're Hawthorn, you're promising a club captain somewhere else to get this done. It is on you.
Penny, for Sam Mitchell's thoughts. So he's in America. I think it's 4:20 over there right now. I'm sure he's watching Trading Day and he's thinking, yeah, my premiership hopes for next year rise and fall on this. They are still a quality side, as I say. So if you're Essendon right now, what are you saying to your members to say, we had 3 first-round picks? You're saying this is a cultural piece. We don't believe that Zach Merrett will sook up. We believe he's such a competitive animal. He will play great football for us. He won't be the captain, but Andrew McGrath will be that man. We've got picks 5, 6, 21 and 27. We'll trade those 20s into a maybe early teens pick. And then we've got, of course, Al Hakhtar and Swede, the academy picks. We're already taking 5 elite picks in a, let's face it, modest draft. We don't want to trade into a 2020 style draft. We know, of course, about Perkins and Reid and Cox and how that didn't go well. So that's what they're saying to their fans, and that's what the crisis management is. But of course, you know, you will have a very disgruntled player there in Zach Merrett. You know, what's your view on how he responds if it is he doesn't get to Hawthorn?
No, I think Zach Merrett will continue to be the same Zach Merrett he's been for 12 years for that football club. He'll be pro, he'll be their best player, and he should still lead by example. Now, no doubt he's going to feel somewhat sheepish walking back into the club for the first week. There might be some players that might feel a bit of angst, but football clubs are pretty forgiving places. They'll shake hands, get to work and worry about the business that needs to be done at winning games of football. And I'm with you. I think Essendon are still rebuilding while keeping their best player and best leader, because they will get 4 or 5 elite kids with the picks and the academy selections they do have, so they can still do both.
Get your tickets to round 1. Essendon and Hawthorn will be spicy.
It was quite extraordinary. There haven't been a last few minutes like that. I can't remember in the last few years that I've been here, fortunate enough to be in this room for trade deadline day. So Zach Merrett, Rowan Marshall, Kalachi and Buku Karmas, none of them finding new homes. The Saints holding firm on Marshall, the Dogs holding firm on Karmas, and of course the Zach Merrett deal. I mean, so the Bombers, they were keen on pick 10, 22, a first-round pick from next year, a future first-round pick in exchange for Zach Merrett. That last deal obviously didn't get near that mark for them.
This could have been footy's greatest train wreck. They could have lost 4 or 5 of their senior players, including their captain, including Ridley, including Parrish, including Langford. They have lost their president. They could have had a coup over the next couple of months. And instead, right now, yes, there'll be some challenges, but they've got 12 months to reset. They've got an elite fitness and strength and conditioning program in. I think so much of the next 6 months is what have you got for us, Brad Scott? What have you got to us to make other players into the Archie Robertses of the 2026 season? So can you do it for Jai Caldwell? Where is Perkins at? Where is so many of these young players at? Where's Ben Mackay? Where's Sardis at? They've still got decisions ahead on Setterfield and Hobbs and Lawal. Haven't made decisions on them. But there are so many players there who come into this team and look like they have some talent, and they either stagnate or they regress. So what do you got for us, Brad, when you pitch that huge vision to us? We get to see whether Brad's the coach that we think he is after 280 AFL games at the helm of football clubs.
All right, let's look at Hawthorn now. Kingy, you've been quite strong on their inability to satisfy the Bombers and get the deal done. They've left a lot of carnage, haven't they, both with Oscar Allen and now Zach Merrett. And I suppose Sam Mitchell now can kind of sit back and, well, it's not his problem. I mean, Zach has to go back to the Bombers. He won't be captain or in the leadership group, you would think, but that's not his problem. He does need to find a way to boost his own midfield, but, well, we'll wait and see. They had a great season.
He's entitled to be furious, I think, Zach Merrett. No doubt the Hawthorn would have said, we'll get this deal done. We've got enough picks, we've got enough talent on our list that we'll be able to satisfy the Bombers. They haven't done that. And I think it puts a real dent in their premiership aspirations for next year. We know Will Day's missed a lot of footy, 16 games in 2024, 6 games in 2025. So he will return. Now, can he stay on the park is his challenge. Merrett into that lineup changes the whole mix for me, changes the whole dynamic of what they do ball in hand. So I think it's a real blow for the Hawks tonight. I really do. I think that when you look at every team across the competition, at the top, you know, pretty much that top bracket of teams, the top 6 to 8, are looking for that one player, that one extra asset that tips them over the edge into premiership contention. And I think the Hawks have left one on the table tonight.
And that's probably the point for me. Everyone else around them, when you talk about the contenders, have improved their list going into next season, except for Hawthorn. In fact, they've lost a bit of depth there. And it's probably, I suppose, what happens, Ralphie, when you try and go for the big fish. Now, good on them. They went for Harley Reid. They had a crack at Oscar Allen. They've gone for Zach Merrett. So they are going for the big fish. But if it doesn't come off, then it's left them. And now maybe they're probably going to put all their eggs into the Zach Butters basket for next year. Knowing,
of course, that the Western Bulldogs and Geelong are probably a long way in front just because of the geography of it, the fact that he's keen to be in the western suburbs. I think what Zach Merrett will be thinking to himself is, I look at what happened with Charlie Curnow. He wanted to go to a successful club. He chose 3 options: get me to any of the Gold Coast, or Geelong or Sydney. So the challenge there is that Sam Mitchell's the greatest salesman of all time. So once that you get lured in his charms, all I want to do is play for Hawthorn. In the end, the fact that they couldn't bring up a quality player meant it was challenging, whereas in the end, I think maybe it was even the third of Charlie's preferences, but he got to a club which could bring players in, and of course they were from his management stable. That's been the downfall of the Merrett trade.
Does it hurt Hawthorn's ability to sell to the next batch of players coming out that they couldn't get this done?
I think so.